Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're discussing the Panerai Radiomir 1940 3 Days in Steel, the PAM00736. You can see this stainless steel 2017 boutique limited edition of 300 pieces and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this PAM00736. The watch on my wrist was part of a 2017 trilogy of green-dialed base metal Panerai models exclusively for the boutique. This one, however, available immediately from us, is the only of the three that was in perhaps the purist's metal stainless steel. A little bit more substantial on the wrist with a high-polished case. The watch is visually stunning. An introduction of a gorgeous slate green previously seen only on the Bronzo series. The watch is handsome and versatile, and though 47 millimeters from 9 to 3 across the case, you can see it still wears well on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. So 47 millimeters in diameter, and I have to say it effectively wears as a 47 millimeter square watch, a cushion case, though the lug-to-lug dimension is vast. At 57 millimeters across the wrist, it doesn't read that way. That is, it doesn't appear to flare out over the wrist so much as it simply straps itself to the wrist, sitting 47 by 47, with the lugs acting more as outriggers to conduct the strap than structural components of the case or visual extensions of the case. It reads as a cushion. It's also fairly thick. As you can see, 15.6 millimeters thick. A lot of that is down to the huge loft of the dramatically domed sapphire, which has been cambered in extreme fashion to create the same off-axis distortion as a vintage plexiglass, so you get that charming warmth of a plexi, but with the scratch resistance of sapphire, which I love. And though 15.6 millimeters thick, you can see just how dramatically sloped that case flank is, so it's easy to slide it underneath a tight sleeve or dress cuff should you choose. Now, again, the lug-to-lug is broad, but I can say that you could probably wear the watch on a smaller wrist than mine. I think this watch would sit right, look right, and fit right on a wrist as small as 15 centimeters in circumference. The strap is an impressive piece. You could see doubled over on itself with sheer cut edges with a little bit of a rusticated finish at the periphery. It features immense mass and size, durability, and on the top, a minimal amount of dye and coloration, just enough to contrast with the ecru off-white stitching that's nicely cued to the vintage-style patina color of the Luminova and the rose gold hands. You can see that contrast, and also an embossed 1970s-style OP Officine Panerai logo, another historical cue from a company that's famous for them. And the pin buckle is not the oversized trapezoid we typically see on Panerai watches. This is perhaps a more upscale, lower profile, high polished, narrow pin buckle for the same easy adjustability, but maybe a less bombastic presence. Look at the substance of this strap. You can see the minder loops are thicker and tougher, bigger and more butch than some dress watch straps I've seen. That's the minder loops themselves being thicker than entire straps I've seen on dress watches. The specification does not scrimp or save. Now, you'll note in profile, this is the Radiomir 1940 case, and it's decked out strap-wise, but it's surprisingly subtle in profile. Not the wire lug Radiomir. Of course, you can see the welded-on style that came about after the original 3646. So this is a form more akin to what would have been a Panerai 6154 reference. Whether or not that's truly representative of Panerai watches circa 1940 is sort of beside the point. Panerai is known for referencing its history, not necessarily in the correct order, and the look is handsome, functional, and gives the watch a more masculine, perhaps somewhat more aggressive stance on the wrist than the wire lug watch. But in profile, the 1940 case also blends sensuous curves and sharp creases in a fashion that's handsome and simply works, which is why the watch is also wonderfully wearable with formal attire, despite being so large and entirely of high-polished stainless steel. Now, the slope of the domed bezel gives way to the slope of that crystal, and again, it's worth twisting it across its axis just to see that distortion. The dial is a sandwich dial, so a luminescent disc on the bottom with the ecru colored simulated patina superluminova lume, and then you see a stencil has been placed on top featuring the numerals and the indices as well as the cutout for the date and the calibrations of the small second. The hands are rose gold and they are themselves luminescent, an easy watch to view at night. It's still a sports watch. Inside caliber P3000, a manufacturer manual wind 3-day movement, and it features one refinement that's worth mentioning, that is the hour stepping feature. So you can actually travel with this watch, and note the watch continues to tick away. This doesn't interfere with the chronometric precision of the watch. You can move the hour hand in 1 hour increments as you jump time zones, and it drives the date, so regardless of which way you jump across the international date line, it will move the date in sync with your own movements. Now, of course, the crown, an oversized unit that is a screw down, is substantial in the hand and secure when screwed down, to the point that in conjunction with a screwed in case back, the watch is 100 meters water resistant. You're going to want to throw it on a textile or a rubber strap for that occasion, but it is up to the challenge of fun in the sun at the beach this summer or far-flung locales during vacations this winter. Caliber P3000, 21 joules, beating away at 21,600 vibrations per hour. It's in the style of a vintage pocket watch, just as old Panerai combat watches would have used a Rolex modified Cordoba caliber 618 or an Angelus SF240 with a large 3/4 bridge, a linear grained finish. It would have been rudimentary on the older watches. It's nicely executed here to a luxury standard, though not a true 3/4 bridge. It has two separate components, one for the twin barrels and one for the drivetrain. Nevertheless, it has that big bridge aesthetic of the vintage watches. What's modern is the dual anchored balance bridge, a screw on both sides keeping it secure against shock and vibrations, and a free sprung index, as you can see, preventing the index from moving unnecessarily in conditions of shock or concussion. Helps the watch to hold its regulation against time deviation. All of the actual adjustments are done using variable inertia balance blocks on the balance, and it is a big slow beating 3 Hz balance. You can see twin mainspring barrels giving 3 days of power reserve. It also has that delightful time zone jumping feature. This is a handsome watch and an uncommon aesthetic for Panerai. Panerai's foray into steel cases and green dials, if this PAM00736 is any indicator, will be a rousing success. A rare watch, a bestseller, and one of the most hyped Panerai of the last year. This is a watch I can see retaining collector interest, Paneristi and otherwise, well into the future. This is the Panerai Radiomir 1943 days PAM00736, a boutique exclusive from 2017 of 300 pieces.